In this video, we're going to focus on creating these custom labels here, putting it at the very side, giving a nice background color here, and converting basically the ticks labels here at the bottom, and showing instead of the name of the Saturday, for example, to a number, which is the number that represents the bar. So let's start to look how to create a custom data label that we put besides our bar. So first thing what we need to do here is we need to get the border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com, getting started. This link you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code here. Next, if you want to support my channel, check out my Patreon here where you get the source code of this video and many others. So the first thing what I want to do is I want to change the y-axis from 0 to 100. So I'm going to scroll down here. And then we're going to say here on the y-axis, the maximum value will be 100. There we are. Next, what I want to do is, I want the value of number 18, as you can see here, or number 12, being shown here below with a percentage. So to do that, I need to work now on the x-axis. And within the x-axis, I'm going to change basically the ticks. So for that, I'm going to say here ticks, and then I'm going to get the callback functionality, which is built in here. This callback object, and then I can say here this will be the value, and then put a function arrow expression because it's a callback, and then all I want to do here is to return. But if I do console log for now, or even return, you will see we only get the value, which is the index number. So I don't want that. I want the specific related value, which is the number of our data here. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here back to this. And how do we get that? Well, for this, all we need to do here is we can do here console log just to make it clear. Then we're going to say we are right now within the chart object. So if I do here data and save this, refresh, open up the developer tab, you can see here we get here the data sets and we get the access of the data here. So the data sets, that's the one I need. So say dot data sets, index 0, and then we're going to say here dot data, and then here the index will be this value. So I'm going to put that in there, and if I save this, refresh, you can see now we're getting the values, and this here is basically the path. If we go from up here, data to data sets, index 0, because we only have one data set here, and into data. So what I want to do is I want to grab this. I want to return that specific value, save, refresh. As you can see here, we get this, but what I want to do is concatenate the percentage symbol. So what I will do here, I use here the template literal, so backtick, backtick. Give this a $sign to indicate that this is a variable. And then we say here, percentage. Save that, refresh, and there we are. So now we have this all up and running. Next thing what I want to do is I want to make sure we have here the text on the side, and probably we need to change even the thickness of our bar. So what I'm going to do here, we're going, let's see here, we go here, comma, we're going to create a custom plugin, and this plugin can be the rotate text. It's basically the text or the data labels rotated here, basically having a 90-degree angle. So what I'm going to do is grab this. Let's say here // then the plugin block, and as a constant this equals, and then here curly braces, then the ID will be exactly the same, and then we're going to select when are we going to draw this. We want to draw this after the data sets has been drawn. After data sets, draw, then they say here chart, arts, and plugins, although I won't be using the last two. And then in here, we're going to use what we call an object destructuring. So if you don't know what an object destructuring is, make sure you watch my video, Understanding Chart.js Object Destructuring. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say here the CTX. I'm going to get here the data. Then I'm going to say a chart area. And then in the chart area, I'm not sure what we need. Probably only need the bottom. So I'm going to put in here the bottom because the chart area will pinpoint this coordinate here. Then what I want to do as well is I want to say comma, I want to have the scales, and I want to have the X and Y scale. Do we need them all? I'm not 100% certain, but you can always remove them afterwards. So what I first want to do here is to say ctx.save to save all variables above, and then we're going to start to draw the item. So to draw the item, we need to get basically the label. And the reason why I have this data here is I can access basically the data to the labels here, then do a for loop for that, or for each loop, so we can loop through every item in that array. So what I'm going to do here now, just data, and just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to grab here data labels index 0, and if I do here console log, you will see nicely this will be one of the labels. If I'm not mistaken, it will be Monday, which is correct because it shows Monday here. Alright. So what I want to do now is I want to draw this. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say here ctx.font equals, and then I'm going to say here we want to make this bold. What do we want it more? We want to give it 12 pixels in font size, and the font family will be sans serif, which is the default chartjs font. Next, what I want to do is I want to give it a proper color. So I say ctx.fill style, and we can give it a color of gray, for example. And then finally, what I want to do here is I want to draw the text. I'm going to say ctx fill text, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this label, put it in here, and then we have here the x and then here the y coordinates. So this one we have to figure out. What I do know is where do we want to start it is basically at the very bottom. So we're going to say here for the y, which is the vertical level, this is bottom. But for the x, we're going to use a built-in functionality, because what I want to do is I want to get exactly on the bar segment this one here. So I'm going to say here x.get pixel for value, and then what I want to do here is get the value of 0 for now. And the moment I do this and save, we should get here Monday. As you can see here, Monday, you might say, well, it's not really in the center. Don't worry about that. We're going to rotate and do some additional alignment. So first of all, I want to make sure that this one will be rotated. So to do that, what I'm going to say here is the following. Let's do it in here. I'm going to say ctx.translate, and what this truly does is basically creates a invisible sheet of paper, or a transparent sheet of paper on top of the canvas, where we only rotate the item within this area, or basically the text here. So you don't want to rotate everything, or else we get this entire chart rotated. So that's why I'm just getting this here, but I say our starting point is 0, 0. So if I save this right now, you see here nothing truly changes. But then what I'm going to do here is we're going to say here we need to rotate this now. So we're going to say ctx.rotate, and the rotation will be a angle within a degree. But this angle here that we're going to make, this is a constant I'm going to assign. And the reason why is if you don't do that, you're going to work with 2 pi, and 2 pi is a full circle, but it's just too complicated. So what I want to say here, a constant, and I'm going to say here angle, because I want to have just a degree, so I can just pinpoint the exact degree. Say here for equals math.pi divided by 180. We know that 2 pi equals a full circle, and a half circle is 1 pi, which equals 180 degrees. So now I can just say here the angle, and just multiply this by, let's say, 90 degrees. If I save this, refresh, alright, you can see here now what's happening. And the reason why that happens is we need to make sure that the rotation will stop afterwards. So we're going to say here, just down here, we're going to say ctx.restore to stop rotating. There we are. Alright, so as you can see here, now it works, but you might say, where is it? Because we're rotating it, it is now slightly disappearing. And or not really disappearing, basically it rotates. If this is now horizontal, it now goes down. It's somewhere outside the area, meaning that now it's now or at least every horizontal x and y coordinates are exactly swapped, and maybe in a negative form. So if we're going down here, we need to maybe push it up, something like that. But let's see at that. Let's work by changing this. Let's say here bottom. And we have this one here as well, and let's see what we get. Alright, we don't get anything. Let's do 270, just to make sure that we get, there we are, that's the one. Alright, apparently we were just somewhere outside the rotation area, which is probably just here down. So we have to do negative, negative. But now if I do bottom here, just to make sure you understand what is happening, it disappears. Because if I would say here plus 10, let's say plus 100, as you can see here, well, bottom mostly was focused on the vertical level from top to bottom, and well, it is still basically, but it just works here. This normally here is for the horizontal, and this one here is normally for the vertical level. And now we're just swapping these data points. So this is a bit of a mind twister. So anyway, we're here now, and what I want to do is I want to push that here to the side more. What I believe we can do here is two options. We can reduce the size of the bar, but I don't want that. I'll just keep it here. So what we need to do here later on is have some additional padding. So we're going to work on that later on. So the first thing what I want to do then, here we have this. How can I move this outside of the bar area? Because right now we're just exactly in the center of this point. And maybe if you will say like I want to have it a little bit higher, well, we can say here, let's say if we do plus 5, do we go up? There we are, 5 pixels up. That looks quite nice. And now let's push it to the closer to the scale here. For that, what I need to know is the thickness of the bar from left to right here, and then because we're exactly in the center, so the thickness divided by 2, and I'm pushing that 50% there, basically. That's what we're doing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use here a built-in functionality in chart.js. But first of all, I'm going to make this constant, which I call the bar thickness or bar width, equals, and then I'm going to say here chart.get dataset meta index 0 dot data index 0. And maybe what I would like to do here is at least show you what this data gives me. So let me show you this. Save, refresh, and as you can see here, because of the animation here, as you can see, it loops through this multiple times and gives you all these data points, and this is changing all the time. However, the width will not change because the width is consistent of our bar from left to right. We'll calculate exactly that part. So you can see here, this width is what I need. So what I want to do here, dot width, just to show you again, there you are, it keeps on looping, but the value stays consistent. This width is apparently almost 70 pixels of the bar. So what I'm going to do here is this width, let's say here half width, so constant, half will be this divided by 2, just making it easy. And then I want to check here, where can we give this? We will say here, it will be here, and let's do plus. Let's see if that will give us the desired result. And as you can see here, it is plus, but it goes the other way, so I need to deduct it. So we're moving it more to the left. There we are. Alright, so we have this, but you might say, well, we're not really exactly on here, so what can we do here? Well, what we can do here is the following. We have to work with the baseline, because we're rotating it. We're not working with text alignment, but we're working with the baseline, because the baseline is a vertical alignment structure and not a horizontal alignment. Because of the rotation of 90 degrees, we have now we're working with that vertical level. And the vertical level will impact the horizontal level. I hope that makes sense, but if it doesn't, please bear with me and watch what I'm going to do now. So what I'm going to do here is ctx dot text baseline, and this here we can say here, let's say if I do top, see what happens. Save that. As you can see here, if I do top, it ignores basically a certain part, but so if I do bottom, I should be exactly matching. Beautiful. So now we have this all working. If you want this even thicker or bigger and maybe more space here, that's also possible by adding a padding here and maybe removing all of these. But for now I think that looks quite decent, but we can remove these later on if necessary. However, now I have this. I want to apply this on every item here. How do we do this? So we have this here, and remember we're going to use now this here is basically an array. So what I'm going to do here between, I'm going to say here data.data labels dot for each. We will loop through every item. Then I'm going to say label and the index, because we need those both, function arrow expression, and then I'm going to grab all of this excluding the restore. So I don't want to touch the restore. The restore is at the very end of it. So if I save this, refresh, you don't even see here anything yet. What I want to do now is this label will be replacing this. If I save this, you should see here something. Alright, there it starts to do something. Then I have here the index, and this index should indicate the index value here. This bar width is all consistent because every bar has the same width or thickness. And as you can see here, we have Monday and Friday working, but the others are not because of the rotation. So the reason for that is because this rotation keeps on rotating based on whatever the angle was. So it started with an angle of 0, and then they have an angle of 270, and then again another one, plus 270 plus 270 would get you 180 somewhere. It's again, so what we need to do is, we need to undo this rotation once we're done. So what we're going to do is, we have copied that, and I'm going to say it negative 270. So it will always refresh back to 0. And then we have them all shown nicely here, and there we are. So if you want to fine tune it a little bit, removing these bars and something like that, what we can do, or not the bars, sorry, the grid lines. What we can do here, we're going to go to the X scale and Y scale. We can just play around with them. So we're going to say here border, maybe we want to remove the border. Display border display equals false. Save. There we are. Now the border here down is not showing. Then what I want to do is I want to have the grid. And the grid will be display false as well. Let's copy this all together. Alright. Next I can copy this. Put it on the Y scale. Save. And there we are. So if you want to have additional padding, we could do with more padding. By here, you can say your layout. And we want to pinpoint, for example, here more padding on the very left side. We're going to say here padding. And then we pinpoint the left side of the chart area, and you can just say here, let's say 50, for example. I'm going to use a very extreme value so you will notice the movement. Alright, so that is basically how we could do that. So I'm going to remove that because that's not really necessary in our case. So we have this here, and that looks all nice. If we want to have this line here at the very bottom, because it's like missing something, all we can do here is go to the data set here, border skip equals false, save. Now we have them all very nicely, and I do believe that this should just be nicely aligned to the number. I'm going to remove this here, save that. Let's make this bold, and then we're done. Going down here, font bold, and then font weight, and that will be equal to bold. Save. Make sure you have a comma here. Save. Refresh. So that looks interesting. This is on the wrong item. Am I correct? It should be on here. And not even in what I thought it should be in the ticks. So I'm going to comma. Do I have the ticks? There, I have the ticks there up, so I'm going to use that. In here, put a comma, just put in the font weight, because these are related to the ticks. So if I save that, refresh, there we are. Then I saw there was even a request with the background color. We could change the background color with a built-in function, or we just do it within the container. So here's this background color, and this could be, let's say if I make this gray, you will see that this chart box, which is the container of the canvas, changes it like this. So you have it including these circles here, but you could do everything you want. You can even do it with a chart area, or basically within the canvas. But that's a separate plugin for that. I will talk about it next time. But this is basically what you can do. Let's make this light gray. Save. There we are, and now we have that fully colored, all of these things showing nicely the items.